I will admit it right away. The Xiaomi YU7 GT caught my attention the moment I saw the Nürburgring lap time, not because I expected a quiet family crossover to suddenly become headline material, not because I thought an SUV would start acting like it has something to prove, and definitely not because I was ready for a machine that looks this familiar to go and embarrass a record book. But that is exactly why this story matters. According to reports, Xiaomi has taken its new YU7 GT, sent it to one of the toughest tracks on the planet, and come away with a lap time that has people talking. That alone is interesting. Add in the power figure, the pricing, the design chatter, and the fact that some viewers will instantly feel a strange sense of déjà vu, and suddenly this is not just another performance launch. It becomes one of those stories that makes you pause and say, hold on, how serious is this thing? That is what I want to unpack here. I'm going to walk through what the YU7 GT is, why its Nürburgring lap is such a big deal, what the numbers actually suggest, and why this SUV feels like it is aimed at traditional performance brands to sit up a little straighter. Not in a shouty way, just in a very calm, very fast, very we have arrived kind of way. Let me start with the obvious part. The YU7 GT is not trying to be subtle. Sources claim it brings twin electric motors with a combined output of 989 horsepower. That's an absurd figure for something that still has to carry groceries, passengers, and the occasional weekend plan. I say that with respect because modern performance cars have fully committed to living double lives. They do the school run, then they go and post lap times that make sports car fans blink twice. And that is where the Nürburgring comes in. The track is not just a place to drive fast, it's a credibility test. It separates the cars that merely talk a good game from the ones that can actually keep their composure when things get ugly. Fast corners, long straights, heavy braking zones, endless pressure. It's the automotive equivalent of walking into a room and immediately being asked to prove yourself. No small talk, no excuses, just lap time. According to the report, the YU7 GT completed the lap in 7 minutes 22.755 seconds. That's the sort of number that doesn't just beat expectations, it knocks them clean off the table. It also reportedly beats the previous SUV record by a huge margin. That matters because records are not only about speed, they're about statement. They tell the market, the rivals, and the audience, this is what we can do now. And yes, I know what some people are thinking. A Xiaomi SUV at the Nürburgring? That feels like the automotive world has become one long group project, and one student showed up with a turbocharged final draft. But that's also why the story is so compelling. Xiaomi isn't approaching this like a hobby. According to reports, the YU7 GT was developed with deep involvement from technical experts at Xiaomi EV's Europe R&D Center, and the tuning work in Munich reportedly took 2 years. That's not a weekend experiment. That's a serious engineering effort. Now, before anyone gets carried away, I think it's worth saying this plainly. A fast lap doesn't automatically make a car perfect. It means the package has talent. It means the chassis, power delivery, and braking systems were all working together in a way that made sense on a very demanding circuit. It doesn't mean every buyer will need all of that performance every day. Most won't. Let's be honest, many of us would struggle to use even half of it without immediately discovering our own limits first. Still, the hardware is impressive. The YU7 GT reportedly sits on a 101.7 kilowatt-hour battery and uses carbon ceramic brakes, dual-valve variable dampers, dual-chamber air suspension, and an electronic limited slip diff at the rear. That's a serious list. It tells me Xiaomi isn't just throwing power at the problem and hoping physics will be kind. It's trying to make the whole car work together. That's the difference between raw speed and usable speed. Anyone can chase a headline. Fewer can make the headline feel controlled. And that controlled feeling matters because the Nürburgring doesn't reward chaos. It punishes it. If a car is twitchy, too heavy, badly balanced, or simply overconfident, the track exposes it immediately. So when a machine runs a lap that is described as quick and surprisingly serene, I take that seriously. Serenity at speed is often harder to build than aggression. Aggression sells the poster, serenity wins the lap.
Of course, there's also the styling conversation, and this is where the internet starts doing what the internet does best, noticing things loudly. I'm not here to make dramatic accusations, and I'm not going to pretend design comparisons are legal verdicts, but I will say this: the U7 GT has a look that some people may find familiar, maybe very familiar. Wider body, full body kit, carbon trim, active rear diffuser, optional forged wheels, and those little details that make a car look like it spends its mornings in a wind tunnel and its evenings at the gym. Add in the gold and carbon fiber badging mentioned in the report, and it's pretty clear Xiaomi wants the U7 GT to look like a serious special model, not just a trim with a louder personality. And honestly, I get it. In the performance world, looks matter because they set expectations before the first meter is driven. A car that looks calm can still be fast, but a car that looks this focused is basically telling you, please do not misunderstand me. That said, design is always subjective. One person sees inspiration, another sees similarity, another just sees an aggressive family crossover and wonders why the family car now has track day energy. Fair enough. Here's the part that really changes the conversation: price. According to the report, the U7 GT costs the equivalent of about £42,682 in China. Let that sink in for a second. That's not exotic car money. That's not even the kind of figure that makes the idea of serious performance feel far away. For that money, you're apparently looking at a machine with nearly 900 horsepower, serious track hardware, and a lap time that made headlines. That's exactly the sort of value equation that forces the whole market to pay attention. And I think that's the real story here. It's not just that the U7 GT is quick, it's that Xiaomi appears to be combining speed, range, technology, and aggressive pricing in a way that is difficult to ignore. According to reports, the claimed range on China's test cycle is 438 miles, which only adds to the appeal on paper. Now, test cycles are always their own little universe, so I wouldn't treat that number like a promise engraved in stone. But even so, it shows the direction Xiaomi is aiming for, a car that can do the dramatic stuff without giving up everyday practicality. That combination is powerful. It's also a little dangerous for established brands, because customers love being surprised. They especially love being surprised when the surprise is fast, well-equipped, and priced like someone forgot to add the final zero. I should also say this: there's a difference between respect and hype. I respect what Xiaomi appears to have achieved here. I also think it's wise to stay measured. One record lap is impressive, but the broader question is whether this performance philosophy holds up in the real world, over time, in different conditions, and in the hands of actual owners. Track success gets attention. Ownership experience earns loyalty. That's where the long game starts. Still, I can't help thinking this is a marker of where the industry is heading. The old idea that only certain regions or certain brands could build headline-grabbing performance machines is looking more outdated by the month. New players are arriving with big ambitions, deep software know-how, and enough engineering confidence to show up on one of the hardest tracks in the world and ask for the stopwatch. That's not a small thing. So yes, the U7 GT has more than earned its share of attention. It has the power, it has the pace, it has the pricing that makes people do a double take, and it has just enough visual familiarity to keep the comment sections very, very busy. That combination is usually good for one thing: conversation. Lots of it. And maybe that's the smartest move Xiaomi could have made. Not just building a fast SUV, but building one that people can't stop talking about. Because in the end, a record is impressive, but a record that forces the whole industry to look over and ask, wait, they did what? That's the kind of moment people remember. And right now, the U7 GT has created exactly that.